everyone. So in this video I will gonna solve June 2021 Unit 3 question paper. So before proceed with the question paper, I just want to say that please subscribe to my YouTube channel, so it will motivate me to work more in the future. So let's continue with the question. So the first question is: a taxi company uses an IT system for scheduling and routing taxi journey in a city. So the system receives input from each taxi, camera showing traffic condition in the city, the global positioning systems, GPS, staff at the company office. So give two pieces of information that the system would need from each taxi. So the system receive input from taxi, camera showing traffic condition in the city, the GPS, and also the staff at the company office, right? From there the system can able to get the input. So what will be the two pieces of information that system would need from each taxi? So this type of question actually you have to identify, like when you use any type of Uber during that time, or Grab, right? So during that time, what type of you have to think like how that particular system or the apps are working. So when you're using Uber during that time, what type of input that they are taking from the taxi? Just think about that. So first we take, which is like we can able to take the location, right? And then the second one will be the driver from the car. Actually they able to give them the update which is hired or not booked, hired or booked, right? So they can able to input the status of a current car. Status like hire or booked. Okay, so give two pieces of information other than customer name and telephone number the system would need from the staff taking bookings. So when a staff is taking the booking, so what is the two pieces of other information they will able to take? So when you are trying to book a particular car by using a Uber or a type of application, during that time what we input there as well. So we also provide the pickup time as well, right? So pickup time for a journey, and we also mention like where we will reach, like what will be the end point of a journey. One of the tasks of the system is to route planning. The system considers several factors when planning the best route for journey. Give three factors that the system should consider. So here you have to think about how Uber, or not Uber, sorry, how the Google Maps can able to give you the the direction, and how they came up with the best route. So one task of the system is route planning. The system considers several factors when planning the best route for a journey. So best route for a journey, and give three factor. So obviously when Google Map will give us the destination or the route that we have to take, that is they try to identify all the route based on the traffic conditions. So wherever the traffic is quite higher, they don't suggest us that particular route, right? So we can add it like the first condition is a traffic condition. Traffic condition on the road. And what can be the other thing, which is like maybe if there is some construction working is going on a certain road, they also avoid that particular road as well. So and also sometimes they will provide us some of the road where we don't need to pay the tolls as well, right? So Each taxi is equipped with a mobile device linked to the IT system. So the device can accept audio or touch input. The touch input is disabled while the taxi is moving. The touch input is disabled while the taxi is moving. So stage 2 problem with having only audio input when the taxi is moving. So what happened? Like when the taxi is moving, and there will be no audio, only the audio input will be available, and they are not able to take the touch input. So what happened, the outside noise can able to affect, right? The system could get confused by other voices like passengers as well. And like for this reason they can also give you the wrong directions, because when you are providing an audio input during that time, the system of the taxi will get confused, and maybe they don't know what will be the right direction, or what will be the right the task you are actually trying to tell them to do. So we can write it here like that way, which is like the system could get confused by other voices like passengers, right? Then we can also write like the system might get confused because of the other voices and give the wrong direction or the wrong information as well. The system might get confused, and sorry, don't use this symbol here actually in the exam paper. The taxi company wants to enhance the system by adding a haptic interface. The interface will use feedback through the steering wheel to give direction to the driver when the taxi is moving. Explain how such a system could work. So first of all, we have to identify what does it mean by haptic. Haptic means like when you touch something, you can feel like there will be a vibration occurred during that time. So for example, when the steering wheel could vibrate on the side where the next turn is, right? So suppose whatever the turn we have to take, maybe the turn will be left or right. So the steering wheel, maybe if we have to take the right side, then this, during that time, this side will make a vibrate, so that the user can, the driver can able to identify that, okay, we have to take this direction. So it's a 3-mark question, so we have to answer it based on a 3 marks way. So first of all, I will explain what does it mean by actually the haptic means. So haptic mean something the driver can feel, right? By touch. So when they will touch, they can able to feel that particular thing. So for example, now I will explain how. So for example, the steering wheel could vibrate on the side where the next turn is, right? So this is the end of question number 1. Then we can move to question number 2. So question number 2 is large distributed database process. So here we have to think about the distributed system. Process millions of queries and data updates every day across global networks. So give 3 reasons why it is better to use a distributed database rather than a single database at one location, right? So what is the difference between distributed database and a single database? So when it comes to distributed database, they actually have a different type of database that is located in a different location. Suppose one of the database is in USA, one of the database in Singapore, one of the database in Dubai, similar like that. Okay, so they use as three type of location or maybe more location actually, and based on that they are distributed the database. So what happen if there is something happen to one of the database, maybe the natural disasters can also occur, right? So then the other continent can able to support them. And when it comes to a single database, they have only one location. So when it one location, there will be one server. So suppose if only the database in the USA, and if something happened to this country, and then what happened? The database will destroy, right? And it will obviously lose the company a lot. So based on that, what we can write here, so because we understand what does it mean by distributed system. So the system uses multiple center or database copies, because when they have a different type of location, they are using the server or the database system. So during that time, obviously they will have a multiple database copies, right? So we can write the system uses multiple database copies, right? Reason why it is better to use distributed system. So it makes the system faster and more responsive, because when we have a different type of number of database, so what happened most of the time, like when we are choosing the database for the website, like suppose if I want to buy a website, so during that time it will try to identify what will be the nearest database server compared to my location, and based on that they will give me that particular database. And beside that, suppose we have one database and there is 1 million requests is coming each second or in each minute, and I have a 3 database and each database is divided, right? So maybe for the 1 million now is at 200, maybe suppose 200 is, or you can think like this way. Suppose I have one database, and at a time, at a second, 1,000 people are hitting, right? So suppose if I change my single one to a 3 database in a different location, so what happened, it will divide by 1,000 to 300, suppose. Okay, so now the number of time it is hitting the database is reduced compared to this one, so it will make my system more faster, and it will obviously more responsive to the user. So I can write it like this way: it makes the system faster and more responsive. Okay, so now what can be the third reason is like so when we have a different type of database, so obviously it will help us to reduces the chances of failure. So I can write it improves reliability by providing data redundancy. So it improves reliability by providing data redundancy reducing the chances of failure, right? Now the question number B is, one of the problem with the distributed system is that of concurrency. State what is mean by concurrency in this context. So what does it mean by this one? Concurrency means actually when multiple people can able to access or can change the same data at the same time. So what happened when it comes to concurrency? Suppose the same thing that I just mentioned here is like, suppose I have one server and 1,000 people are trying to hit at a time. That one is called one of the example of a concurrency. So multiple people can access at a time or at the same time. So what will be the issue here when we use a distributed system is like, but oh sorry, they say that state what is mean by concurrency. So concurrency means we can write here, because this is 1 mark, so we can also write the same thing. Concurrency means that multiple people can access the same data at the same time. That's it. So you can write it. Concurrency means that multiple people can access the same data at the same time. Okay. Explain why concurrency might cause problem with a distributed database. So there is one of the problem that can have, because there's obviously each and everything have some disadvantage and some advantage and disadvantage as well, right? So one of the problem that I think it is like, suppose I have a distributed database. So maybe this is one of the database, this is one of the database, one of the database, one of the one, and suppose this one is a USA, this one is a UAE, okay, this one is India, and maybe this one is a Singapore, this one is a Malaysia, okay. So in each country, I have a different type of, it's not different, distributed server there. So there has one database, one database, one database. So what happened? So database copies are different, like located on different continents, so which can delay when updating them after a change is made. So suppose if I do some changes in these branches and the Singapore one, so I have to update that particular data in this as well, so it will take some time. So what happens, suppose I just update here, and then it will take some of the time to update that particular other database as well, right? So during that time, if someone try to hit the database query or run the database query, they might get some error. Okay, so suppose what does it mean by this one? So when we try to fetch some of the data by using the database, we use SQL query language. Okay, so suppose I have one of the table here. Suppose in the table I have a name. So I have an ID, which is a primary key, then I have a name, then I have an address. Okay, so somehow I just want to delete that particular name from my database, so I delete it. But in my query language, I have a number of query that I written there, and where they are trying to fetch the name by using the name field. But when I delete, it will take some time to update to other location as well. So during that time, if someone try to run that particular query, it will give them an error. So similar like that. So what we can able to answer for this question, database copies may be located on different continent, which can cause delay when updating them, right? After a change is made. So this one is 2 marks. Then we will add this delay this delay might lead to errors in the query result, right? So if you don't understand this particular question, try to comment me, so I will try to explain you. Now number C. So obviously it's a 6 marks. So it is essential that a relational database is normalized, right? So what does it mean by relational database? So relational database means we have a primary key and a foreign key, right? So we use primary and foreign key to connect the table and create some of the relationship between the table. So discuss the problem caused by data redundancy and how normalization reduces the problem. So basically the data redundancy means when you have several copies of a multiple data, and so that one will cause some of the issue during the time when you want to add, delete or update the data. So how we can able to explain this one? Data redundancy can cause several problems. So as an intro, right? So what will be the problem? That one we will discuss. So how we can able to answer this particular question? First of all, we will first thing that we will explain with a short intro. Then we will came up with a problem. Then we will tell what will be the solution, and at the last we will maybe add that particular answer by providing a conclusion. That's it. So the first thing will be the simple introduction, which is like, maybe I can add data redundancy can cause, right? Several problems. So what will be the problem? Such as wasting storage, because when you have a multiple copy, it will wasting the storage, right? Space and increasing operational cost, because you have to run the query during that time. It will increases the operation cost as well. Then it also leads to insert, update, delete errors. Like suppose when you have a million of the same phone number that you have, and you have to update the phone number, and you have the same copy million times. So there is a chance that there will be error, right? So it also lead to insert, update or delete errors, right? Which can make managing data more difficulties. So can make managing data more difficult. So we can write additionally, if any of the data is missed during update, it results in inconsistent data, right? So additionally, if any of the data is missed during update, it results in inconsistent data. So we completed with the description of a problem. Then we will extend our answer with the solution. So on the other hand, normalization helps reduce redundancy by breaking data into tables, right? So when we do the normalization, what we did, I think you guys know about that. So we have a normalization table like this way, right? And when you want to normalize that particular database, we try to just break the database in maybe 2 or 3 data table. 2 or 3 table, and we uses foreign and primary key to connect each of the table with each other by using a relational database. So what happened, which reduces redundancy by breaking data into tables, ensuring each field appear only once, and saving storage space as well. So now we'll continue. What will be the other benefit that we're getting actually here? It also links table, right? Because when we are normalized, during that time we used relation, right? So when we are using the relation, it also links table. Table using keys. So when one data is updated, all related copies are automatically updated, right? Because when you have a relation, so if we are trying to update one database, the other table data will also get updated, so which prevent inconsistency. Now, so we already gave the solution as well. So for now we have to came up a little short conclusion. So what we can write here: finally, normalization solves anomaly problems, right? By establishing clear relationship between table. That's it. So we are done with question number 2. Now we'll move to question number 3. So when it comes to question number 3, member of a photography club store image in online album. So I added everything, and this one I just added as a primary key. So I think the primary key is done, and I don't need this particular field here. Okay, so what I did, I just remove all the field here, and then I take it in here, and then what I will do, now I will create a relationship. So when I will think about the album and the photograph, so one album can have many photographs, right? So this one will be the part of a many. So when it like this, so that means I have to shift that album ID to here to create a relationship. So I will add the album ID here, and this one is considered as a foreign key, right? Okay, done. Then when I will think about the photograph and the comment, so one photograph has many comment, so this one will be, so when this one is a many, so it will take the image ID to here. So that means we need to add image ID, and the image ID will be the primary key, right? Now when I will again try to create a relationship between photograph and location. One location can have many photograph, so this one will go to there. So that means it will be the location ID, and this one is considered also as a foreign key, and the one is photographer and the photograph, right? So for that thing, what I can do, so maybe I can create it like this way. So you guys draw this one here, right? So one photographer can take many photograph, right? So what we can add for that one, so this one will be the many, and when it will get the many, so it will take the photographer ID here. So we have to add photographer ID, and that one will be considered as a foreign key, right? So this is the end of our question, I think question B as well. So we completed the question 3. Now we'll move to question number 4. So good project management is important when developing an IT system. Good project management is important. So explain 2 features of project management that contribute to a successful IT project. So why we manage the project by using project management? Because so that we can get a clear goal. We can clear goal, that means it will help us to make sure that we achieve the goal, right? So maybe if I create a daily task list, and then if I complete one of the task list, I can able to identify what I have to solve during a particular timeline, similar like that. And this is the one thing that we can able to explain. What can be the other one? Also it will help us to give a careful planning, so everyone is clear with their task and what they have to do. Because when we are assigning the project, or we are creating the task in a project management software by using Gantt chart, during that time we are assigning each of the employee or each of the person who will be responsible for that particular task. So what happened in an organization, the employee get the clear goal and the clear task list and what type of job they have to do and what will be the timeline. So good project management means setting clear goals that can be checked to make sure they achieve the goal, right? And this one is a successful project is helped by careful planning, which gives everyone clear tasks and jobs to do. So a small company wants to replace its local area network with a new one. The project will use the waterfall method, and the waterfall method involves 6 phases. So in each phase, information is exchanged between member of the project team and between the team member and other stakeholder. So evaluate the information exchange in each phase in this project and identify the most critical phase explaining your choice. So that means here you have to came up, because this one is a 12 mark. So what we will do, we will just came up with an intro, short intro, and then we will came up with all the phases. So the first phase is requirement or analysis phase, then design, then testing and debugging phase, installation phase, maintenance phase. And then at the conclusion we will came up with a solution, like with the identification, like we think that which one will be most critical for my perspective. So it will be depend on your one. So based on that we will answer this particular question. So when it comes to the introduction, what we can able to write, the waterfall method has 6 steps, and each one the team and the stakeholder exchange important information. Here is how it works for replacing company's LAN. This one as an intro I can able to add. So now during the time when we will describe each of the phase, we have to mention what information is passing from one phase to another phase. Okay, so this is the first intro that we write it here, and then we will go with the first phase, which is requirement or analysis phase. So we will add the first phase, which is requirement phase, or maybe analysis phase, whatever you want to write. Okay, so what the answer that I write, which is like the project teams gather information about the client needs and including how the network should function, budget and timeline, stakeholder budget and timeline. So that means in the requirement fields, they sit with the stakeholder and try to identify what will be the exact budget and the time they have to finish the project, right? So stakeholder like user and management provide feedback, they will provide some of the feedback. This phase is important because mistake here can affect the entire project. So remember these things. This one is quite important because if you do mistake here, it will affect your whole project. Then when it comes to the design phase, the team create a detailed plan for the new land. So what will be the steps, each phase steps they have to follow. Deciding on hardware, software and layout, stakeholder and layout. Then stakeholder review the design to ensure it meets the requirement. So that means whoever the stakeholder, they will go through all the design process that is done by the organization, and then they accept it. Is if the stakeholder want to change something, then they mention that thing as well, right? So this phase provide the framework for the project. Now the thing which is called implementation phase. So in this phase, the teams start to build the land based on the design, including coding or setting up hardware. Progress is monitored carefully to avoid errors that could affect the network functionality. Now, when it comes to the testing and debugging phase, in this phase, mostly the software quality assurance engineer, they are trying to test and they identify that it actually meets the requirement or not. Feedback from testing is used to fix problems, so that what happened, the feedback is given to the developer again, and it is going to the implementation phase each time when they find out any of the issue and they solve that particular one. This ensure the system is reliable and functional. So that's they ensure that the system is working perfectly, right? Now the second phase, which is called the installation phase, where the LAN is installed at the client location and the team tests the system and the stakeholder confirm that it works as expected. This phase means the LAN operational. So that means what happened? The people from the organization go to the client office or the stakeholder office and set that particular software to their computer. And then the team who is working under the stakeholder, they are actually test it and then they make sure that the system is working perfectly. So after that, the stakeholder from the stakeholder side, they confirm that okay, the system is working perfectly. And the last one is the maintenance phase. So each and every system are not 100% perfect, right? It needs maintenance. So for that, ongoing support is provided, including update, fix and addressing user issues. If they find any issue, they're trying to solve that thing. Feedback ensure the LAN continue to meet the company needs. So it's done. So this one is actually what I think as a critical phase. So I say that the requirement phase is critical as it says sets the project foundation. Clear communication with the stakeholder ensure the team understand the client needs, budget and timeline. So this is one of the factor that need to be make sure at the first, and it should be clear. So that's why I think the requirement analysis phase is the most difficult one. So this is the end of question number 4. We will move to question 5. So question number 5 is like we have to came up with information flow diagram. So a smart lighting system is being designed for a new building. The system is intended to save energy by lighting areas that are being used. The lighting system will use Internet of Things IoT device. The system specification state that the light can be controlled by software. So what happened when it comes to the information flow diagram, they actually give you all the description of the device, or the devices and the flow, data flow as well, from which device and to which device the data are flowing. Everything is mentioned in the description and the specification actually. So they say the light can be controlled by software on a local area network server. The light can be controlled from an app on a mobile device using Wi-Fi or to the LAN. Individual lighting will be conducted to light. So the lighting unit will be connected to light and motion sensor. So you can see that lighting unit, right? The light will come on or stay on if the area lit is below a brightness threshold. Okay, light will only come on, stay on if there is a motion in the lit area on an adjacent area. So that means the light will open or light will turn on when there will be a motion sense, like if someone came up during that time, or the brightness threshold, right, is below a brightness threshold. So complete the diagram to produce a high-level design for a smart lighting system that will meet this specification. Your diagram should include 3 lighting units. So that means 1 lighting unit is here. So we have to add the 3 lighting unit to show how the system connected. You only need to show sensor for one of the unit. Okay. So that means when it comes to local area, this one is the LAN, right? So they mentioned that light can be controlled by software on a local area network server. So when it is software, that what can be this one? This one will be the app, right? The light can be controlled from an app. So that means we can add here app on mobile device, maybe, yes. App on mobile device. And they already give us the data flow. So that means the app, from the app it will go to the LAN, from the LAN it will go to the app, right? The data is flowing both sides. Now, local area network server to down. So what happened? What will be this one? So if we go here, they say that the light can be controlled from an app to a mobile device, Wi-Fi to the LAN. So which means this one will be connected to the router, right? IoT router. So go inside your book and then solve some of the activity 4, and in IT system solve activity 4 and 5. So after that you can able to understand like why we have to add this particular router here. Because in that particular example, in the activity 4 or 5, I don't remember exactly. So there we also created similar type of data flow diagram. So there we also use the Wi-Fi, because what happened when you're using the app is using the router, right? Router or the Wi-Fi. And based on that, the Wi-Fi is also connected to the lighting unit. Or maybe if you're using a smart system, during that time your Wi-Fi is also connected to all the application or all the system or all the device, right? So what happened? The Wi-Fi can able to also give you the data from your application and to the other application. So when it comes to lighting, so we will connect the IAT router to the lighting as well. So from the lighting unit, it will give the data to the IoT router, and the IoT router is also send the data to the lighting unit. And here we have to think about the sensor, because they said, if you look this one carefully, they said that circle is the lighting unit, pentagon is the sensor, and rectangle is the device. So 2 device that I already added, and we have a 2 sensor, which is a light sensor, and the other one is a motion sensor, right? So here, if you think this one, we can't able to send any of the data from lighting unit to the motion sensor. We're just passing the data to the lighting unit. That's it. So here they also mentioned that 3 lighting unit to show. So that means we have to use 3 lighting unit. So that means we have to add 3 more here. So here this one will be the lighting unit. This one will be light sensor and motion sensor. This one will also be the lightning unit. So this one you have like, this one is the light sensor, the first, right? And when you learn about, in chapter 1, the Zigbee, for the smart system, they mostly uses mesh topology. So when it comes to mesh topology, so we have to think about how we can able to connect each of the device to each other, so that if something happened to one of the device, it will not affect the other. Like it can able to transfer the data from one place to another. So that's why we will connect this to this. We will connect this to this, and this one is also be connected. This one is also be connected, right? So what happens, suppose if something happened to this particular path, then this IoT router can able to send the data by using this path. So this is one of the example of a mesh topologies. So I think it's clear to you. Now we will move to the question number B, which is a 6-mark question. So one part of the design process is the planning of system maintenance. Discuss the role of system maintenance in a smart lighting system. So when it comes to system maintenance, so we have a 3 type of steps that we have to consider, which is a perfective maintenance, adaptive maintenance, and corrective maintenance. Okay, so the role of system maintenance in a smart systems are, this is the 3 that we will start with a short intro, and you will add a conclusion. So if you look at the answer, which is like what I write, the role of system maintenance in a system are perfective maintenance, improving the system by adding better features like upgrading sensor, adding new app function, or improve security. That one is considered a perfective maintenance. When it comes to adaptive maintenance, changing the system to meet new needs like updating light for new rules or improving security features against new threat. So that means we have to update it, right? If something new features came up, based on that you have to update. And what is mean by corrective maintenance? Fixing a problem like errors from installing or software bugs. So now we have added a short conclusion, which is this maintenance type ensured that system remain functional, secure, and adaptable to evolving needs. Right? So this is the end of question number 5. So this is the last question, which is a research organization has digital cameras installed at a site that attract large number of animals. Each camera is paired with a motion detector, and the camera is triggered if anything moves into its field of view. That means wherever the camera is set, if something past that particular camera, like suppose if this is the camera, if something is passed in front of the camera, they try to take the picture. During that time the camera take the pictures of the species. So the organization has thousands of photographs and need to examine all of them to identify the animal. So each time the camera is taking the pictures, so what the organization is doing, they're trying to gather all the photographs, and they are examining what type of species are there that is shown in the diagram, in the photograph. So the organization does not have enough staff to perform this task manually and want to use machine learning instead. So it is considered using either supervised learning with a labeled data set or unsupervised learning with an unknown data set. Evaluate the advantage and disadvantage of the use of the 2 types of machine learning in this context. So that means we have to came up with a machine learning, and inside the machine learning we have, inside the machine learning we have to think about the supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Your answer should include a justified recommendation of the type of machine learning the organization should use. So there is a 2 type of machine learning. One is supervised learning, another one is unsupervised learning. So we have to came up with what will be the suitable learning that you have to use to identify a right species from the photograph. So here, when it is a 12-mark question, again you have to came with a short intro, and then we will came up here how we will design the structures of this answers. Like we will add an intro, then we will add supervised learning point. Okay, so what will be the point that falls under supervised learning? So one point, it can be they uses label data set. Okay, so all the data set is similar like this in the field, and they have a name in the table, like name, ID. They have all in a table, they have a name field type of database. So where each photo is labeled with the correct spaces, so maybe the spaces name will be there and similar like that. So what happened, a supervisor need to check the system is identifying the spaces correctly or not. So this method work well if all the wildlife species in the area are already known. So if you known, then this particular of supervised learning will work perfectly. And included in the training data. So that means whenever you are, because when you are training the particular machine learning, supervised or unsupervised, we need a training data and a testing data, right? We need training data and testing data. So all the known species should be included in the training data, and that way we can able to train the particular algorithm. However, if a species is not in the training set, the system won't recognize. So this is the advantage. So now when we considered about unsupervised learning, so what will be the first thing? When it comes to the unsupervised learning, the photograph is not in label format. Okay, so what happened? It is not labeled. So, and then they are mostly trying to identify based on the pattern and similarities. So, and someone later labels this species. So that means they try to identify by using the pattern, like if some of the species have the same pattern, based on that the particular algorithm try to identify, okay, this is the same type of species. And then later someone need to label, like, okay, this all the species fall under this category, then they will label a certain name. So this method is mostly useful for identifying unknown or unexpected species, but it can sometimes make mistakes, because like when you are tracking the pictures, in the pictures they have a plants or the other non-wildlife features, so they will take that one as a species. So that one can be the problem. So both method, when it comes to the conclusion, we can write like both method have this strength and this weakness, but it depends on the choice of the situation, right? A mix of both could also be a good option if more data is needed. Okay, so this is the answer what I write. This is the intro that I write here, which is like using machine learning to analyze wildlife, right, from photograph can be done in two main ways. So supervised learning and unsupervised learning. In supervised learning, I explained this one, the system is trained using a label data set where each photo is labeled with the correct species, right? A supervisor check if the system is identifying the species correctly. This method works well if all the wildlife species in the area are already known and included in the training data. However, if the species is not in the training set, the system won't recognize. On the other hand, unsupervised learning uses unlabeled data. This one will be okay. Unlabeled data, unlabeled photos. The system group photos based on pattern or similarities, and someone later labeled this group. This method is useful for identifying unknown or unexpected species, but it can sometimes make mistakes like grouping plant or other non-wildlife features as part of a species. So both methods have their strength and weakness, but it depends on the choice of the situation. A mix of both could be a good option if more data is needed, right? Because when we mix that both of the features, we have more data. So this is the end of the question. So please subscribe to my channel and share with your friend. Thank you.